welcome everybody to today's class, which is the hips class. So we'll be focusing on some discomfort around hip sensation, hip tenderness that moves into the back, but also stability and flexibility. So the balance between the two, because it's equally important to not just have flexibility within the hips and pelvis, but also to have the stability. And we need the stability to move towards labor and delivery. That'll help us with our endurance when we labor. So that's the focus of today's class. Some of the postures are repetitive. There still is only, so many poses that we can really work with in pre and postnatal yoga. And as we move into the third trimester, sometimes those poses become less and less. So if you just want to find first maybe a comfortable position, I always recommend moms in the third trimester maybe sitting on a little bit of height. So this will help to alleviate any stress or strain in the knees or the pelvis. So finding either a chip foam block, one of the foam blocks, or even a bolster. We'll sit up nice and tall, so rolling the shoulders down the back, palms of the hands facing down towards the knees, and then we'll gently close the eyes. So we'll start by taking a deep inhalation, lifting the breath towards the chest and heart. Nice big audible exhale. So one more as such, taking a deep breath in to lift and expand, and then nice big audible exhale to let go. We want to quiet the space between the eyebrow center. Your lips will stay together, separate the teeth, and let the tongue slowly fall to the bottom of the mouth. Taking a deep inhalation, lengthening through the crown of the head so the ears lift away from the shoulders. As you exhale, trying to allow the tops of the shoulders to feel nice and heavy. So another deep breath in, reaching up this time through the heart. And as you exhale, trying to let go of any unwanted tension through the lower part of the spine. And then we start to feel this heaviness through the pelvis as the weights of the knees begin to release towards the earth beneath. And then with the body quiet, we move our attention inwards towards our breathing. So most common practices are samavriti, or equal breathing. We just begin to draw the inhalations to the same length and depth as the exhalations. So on the inhalation to a breath count of 2, 3, 4, 5, or 6, we exhale to the same numbered count. So with every inhalation, we feel the breath lift up the front line, and every exhalation, continue to let go of any unwanted tension, shoulders, spine, hips, and thighs. And not only are you trying to let go of any physical tension or tightness, but equally as important, any emotional stress or strain that no longer serves you at this very moment in time. And then I'll ask you to place your hand on your own heart, just acknowledging your heart at this moment, its needs, its wants, its desires. So on the inhalation, begin to follow these movements with the affirmation of strength. And on the exhalation, letting go of any fears. So either affirming the word fear or implementing what you are the most fearful of, and using the exhalation to let any of that go. So with the inhalation, begin to feel the strength and the power from within. And with the exhalation, letting go of any fears that may plague you, moving towards the labor and delivery stage. With your free hand, let's place that, holding on to baby. Starting to feel the warmth through both palms of the hands, knowing that this connection is inseparably one. Connecting your heart to that of the heart of your baby. Inviting them into this meditation, inviting them into this practice of yoga. And inviting them into this journey, this spiritual transformative journey that we love to call motherhood. We'll bring the palms of the hands together, thumbs connect at heart center. With a chant of Om, we open, taking a deep breath in, sitting up tall, nice big audible exhale, and we inhale followed by an Om. Deep breath in. And gently bow the head, release the palms of the hands to the knees, and when you feel ready, bringing your gaze to look forward. Awesome. So we'll start by just removing any props from underneath the sit bones. You can stretch the legs forward, giving your legs a nice big shake. Great. We'll bring the pads of the feet together first, hugging your hands around your ankles, just sitting up nice and tall, rolling the shoulders back. Moms in the third trimester, just be really mindful here as you fold forward, letting go of any tension through the tops of the shoulders. So if it feels like it's too much, you can lift your shoulders forward. So here, just a gentle stretch to the entire spine. The chin will draw towards the chest, shoulders towards the ears. So just taking a deep inhalation. So rather than now actively breathing in towards the front line of the body, see if you can breathe in towards the back line of your body. Good. The next inhalation, we start to slide the hands up the shins, rounding up vertebrae by vertebrae. Last thing to come back is the head, followed by the gaze. Awesome. Stretching the legs in front again. So here we'll cross the legs, but I want you to come into your non-dominant direction. So the shins should switch. We'll take right hand over to the left knee, and then you'll inhale, reach the left arm up and over. So soften through the top of the shoulder. Take a deep breath in through the left side of the ribs. As you exhale, we begin to fall over to the right side. So trying to reach up through the tips of the fingers as you draw down through the left sit bone. So creating that traction. So less about crunching on the right side and more about stretching up through the left. If you feel like it's way too much in the lower spine, feel free to hug onto baby in this position. We root down into the left sit bone. Good. We bring a left hand over to the right knee, right arm up and over, soften through the top of the shoulder, take a deep breath in through the right side of the ribs, and as we exhale, we fall over to the left side. So reaching up through the tips of the right fingertips now and pressing down through the right sit bone, so it's traction. So less about how far you move over to the left side, more about reaching up. Drawing in through, again, hugging onto baby if you feel like there's way too much pressure through the back. And then as we exhale, we press into the right sit bone to lift back. Good. Stretching the legs in front with a little bit of a shake. So here we'll take the right leg out to a 45-degree angle, bringing the left leg inside. So if you won't be able to reach for your foot, you can use your strap around the foot. You can sit on a chip foam block if you feel like you can't let your shoulders roll back in this position. Raising the arms up and overhead will hinge over to the right side. So either grabbing middle finger, index finger to the big toe. And then the left hand will sit really high on your waist. So trying to roll the shoulder back first. So what your hand is essentially grabbing is these muscles called your quadratus lumborum. So there are two square muscles on either sides of your spine. And while you're pregnant, they're making sure that the core, or at least the back, is supported. So they're like cables on the bridge. And when we're not functioning through our core, these muscles are taking over. So they are extremely tight. Taking a first breath as you exhale, try to rotate right ribs and shoulders forward, left ribs and shoulders back. So ideally, we're trying to stack the left shoulder on top of the right shoulder as much as we can. Second part is to start to bend your right elbow to your shin, keeping your left shoulder back, creating a little bit more movement. You're breathing into where your hand is touching, and you're anchoring down through the sit bone. Second part is to raise this left arm overhead, palm of the hand faces down. Try to reach up through the tips of the fingers as you press down through the left sit bone. And we're breathing through the left side of the ribs, gazing forward or picking up underneath the arm. Good. Rest the right hand to the shin. We'll inhale with this left hand. Take the left hand behind your back, right hand over to your left knee. Sitting up nice and tall, take a deep breath, and you want to anchor down through the right sit bone. And then as we exhale, we gently twist off to the right. So really small movement here, or left rather, making sure there's no collapsing in the front of the belly. Gazing over the left shoulder if you need for a deeper stretch in the right side of the neck. So the most important thing is keeping the pelvis even, right sit bone grounds down. Next exhalation, you can square the shoulders forward, bring the right hand behind the back, rolling the shoulders back, sitting up nice and tall. So this movement's all about tipping the pelvis forward. On the exhalation, you can gently fold forward from the hips, rolling the shoulders back, lifting up through the chest and the heart. On an exhalation, a very gentle fold. If you start to feel your shoulders round, just pause here, hugging onto baby if you feel like there's a lot of pressure in your back, and then engaging through the right leg. Good. One more full breath in. And then we'll exhale. So you can inhale, lead with the chest hinging from the hips, and we'll switch sides. You can then take your left leg out to 45, bringing the right leg inside. Good. Raising the arms up and overhead, we'll hinge over to the left side. Next position here, if you want to go just a little further, bend your left elbow to your shin, but I want you to continuously breathe into that right hand. Wherever you feel this pose the most is where you're breathing into in that hand. The only time these muscles get a break is when you're sleeping. And if you're moving a lot in your sleep, they're still functioning. So they're constantly tight. So just allowing yourself to breathe into that palm of the hand. Last aspect of this position, raise the right arm overhead, palm of the hand faces down. Good. Reaching the right fingertips up, you're pressing the right sit bone down, taking full breath. So with the inhalation, be aware of where you feel the stretch. I always give you pinpoints in this class, but it's going to be different for every mother. And then as you exhale, see what happens when you breathe into that space, when you let go of the tightening. Good. Release the left hand, the shin, lead with the right hand. You take the right hand behind the back, left hand over to the right knee. Anchor this time your left sit bone to the floor. Take a deep breath and just sit up nice and tall. It's a very small twist. So as you exhale, we just kind of open up the chest and shoulders to the right. Maybe bringing your gaze to look over your right shoulder will increase that stretch to the left side of the neck. But we'll lower down through that left sit bone. Try to allow softening through the front of the belly and the low back. Keeping the left foot flexed, toes point up. One more full breath in. And then exhale, square the shoulders forward, hands behind the back, and just take a moment just to roll the shoulders back. It's kind of part one. If you're really tight in your hamstrings or your back, this might be it. Roll your left thigh in, full inhalation. Maybe on the exhalation, we're trying to actively sort of tip the pelvis forward. So when your shoulders start to round, that's a good indication in your own body that you've now moved from your hips into your back. So if your shoulders start to round, come to that position where you can stay nice and upright. Hug onto baby if it starts to activate a little bit through the low back. But we're trying to move the sit bones apart. So I want you to receive that stretch through the glutes and the low back. This one's a nice one. So oftentimes forward folds can be really helpful for lower back and hip stretches, but sometimes also they can exacerbate or aggravate. Okay. On the next inhalation, we lead with the chest, hinging from the hips. Perfect. We'll stretch both legs in front, and we'll give the legs a bit of a shake. So you'll move your heels over to the left and right side of your mat, and you'll come directly forward onto hands and knees. So this is where you can, I don't think we have blankets. If you need them, you can raise your hands for a blanket, and Asha will bring one. But otherwise, we're on hands and knees. So if you're feeling like your knees are quite tender, you can ask for a blanket. Spread the fingers nice and wide. Bring your wrists right underneath your shoulders, and then your knees are generally hip width apart. But here's where it can start to shift a little bit too, and maybe you want to take your knees further apart. So in our cat-cow, when you inhale, look forward, roll the shoulders back, lift the chest, but you have to hug onto baby in this position to help support the spine. And then nice big exhale, push down through the index fingers and the thumbs, and you gaze towards the navel or the baby. So when you inhale, lift the chest, sit bones draw up, we look forward, hugging onto baby. Now on this exhale, push down and try to move your shoulders more towards me. So lean towards your fingers and more towards me versus your low back. And that'll give you a deeper stretch up your upper, so the thoracic back as well as the back of the neck. And then just start to follow the movements of your own breath. You can even close your eyes here. So every inhalation, we guide chest and heart forward. We roll the shoulders back. We lift the sit bones up. Nice big exhale, press down into the index fingers and the thumbs. Try to move your shoulders more towards me. It's also very helpful so that you don't collapse a lot or squeeze into the front of the abdomen. Perfect. So really nice movements for both the upper and lower back. When you're ready on the next exhalation, you'll curl the toes under and we lift the hips into a downward facing dog. So if you feel any lightheadedness through your pregnancy, you can keep your gaze to look towards your hands so your chin's above your heart. We never hold these too long. The alternative, as you know, is to always come down into your wide-legged child's pose if this becomes too much. But here, just create some movement. So there's a nice deep bend into one knee, rooting and pressing through its opposite heel. You're really strong through the arms. You're pressing yourself away from the floor. And then exhale, bend into the knees, coming back down onto all fours. So your knees draw wide, big toes touch. We sit back on the heels. Forehead to the floor. You can also stack your forearms on top, resting your forehead on your arms. Another modification, especially for moms in the third trimester that can't quite sit back on the heels anymore due to the weight of baby, is to keep your hips above your knees, where you can draw your sit bones slightly back and then hugging onto baby. So whichever position you've taken here, it's a resting pose. As you exhale, just let the weight of your sit bones start to fall back to the heels, forehead to the floor. Good. On the next inhalation, we'll slide hands underneath the shoulders and you'll press forward onto all fours. Good. So if you can join me in a kneeling position, if you're comfortable in a kneeling position. So if not, you can always switch to a cross-legged position. Everyone's okay there? You can take a slight space between the knees if you need. We'll interlace the fingers, rotate the palms of the hands forward, and then inhale, reach the arms up and overhead. So shoulder stretch is just as important in prenatal because we have the tendency to allow the shoulders to roll a bit forward. Good. So with the chin parallel in this position, we let the pelvis tip forward again. So just drawing the front ribs back, maybe hugging onto baby if you feel like there's a lot of pressure through the back. And then when you inhale, reach up through the palms of the hands and squeeze the biceps towards the ears. So don't let the shoulders kind of crunch to the ears. Keep some space between the two. The inhalations are happening all along the sides of the ribs. So we're trying to create space between those intercostal muscles. Good. Exhale, arms come forward, hands on the thighs, and then roll the shoulders back and down. Just a foot stretch, so I'll show you from behind. When you lean forward, I want you to cross the top of your left foot into the inner arch of your right foot, and then sit back on your left heel. Okay, so top of the left foot on the inner arch of your right foot, and then sit back on your left heel. So it's a bit sensitive. The top of the foot in reflexology resonates with breast tissue, which is, of course, expansive right now and maybe a little bit inflamed in some areas. And then the inner arch of the foot is all about your organs, which are pushed back and up towards the rib cage. So it's tender either way. Lean forward. You guys look really calm though, so that's good. Take the top of your right foot. One side's always different than the other. And then cross it over your left foot. There we go. And everyone's like, that's the side. That's the side, yeah. Okay. Trying to keep shoulders over top of hips for a moment, not leaning to one side versus the other. Not bad? Good. I think we're doing a fascial class. I can't wait for that one with the tune-up balls next week with moms. So that's going to be good. And we work out these lines as well. So lean forward, point your toes behind evenly. Head sitting back on the heels. Okay. This time when you take your hands, I want you to interlace the fingers behind your back. Okay. First thing is, see the shoulders roll forward. So you have to roll the shoulders back first, and then maybe begin to straighten the arms. It always interferes with my microphone when I do that. So first, when the elbows are bent, please make sure that you roll your shoulders back first so we get this really beautiful pec stretch. And then maybe the arms start to lengthen. Palms of the hands are up, but you don't have to. The elbows can stay slightly bent as long as the shoulders are drawn back. Now this will force the ribs forward again, tipping the pelvis forward, so try to draw the front ribs in. Good, take a deep inhalation, chin stays parallel. Hardest part in this position is trying to keep that chin parallel and the throat relaxed. And then maybe the knuckles kind of drag towards the toes, but don't compromise the strength and this movement of hugging onto baby so we can get into those abdominal movements. Good. And then exhale, arms come forward. It's where everyone breathes, and then roll the shoulders back. Perfect. Lean forward again. Spread your fingers nice and wide with an exhalation. We lift the hips in a downward dog. Just a nice way to get off our knees and our ankles, but your modification, if you need, is to move into your wide-legged child's pose. But take a nice deep bend into one knee. So the glorious thing about shifting, like really kind of exaggerate the movements from side to side. You can get a really good glute stretch there. Yeah. So make as many of those movements as large as you choose. And then exhale, we'll bend into the knees again, coming back to onto all fours. Okay. So I want you to grab onto your block. Okay. One of these blocks here. So in pregnancy, we have the tendency to sort of stand, everyone, if you're working, and everyone sort of stands on the left side and then to the right side, right? We're like constantly shifting the weight. And then it gets worse when you have a baby, because I'm going to stand up, because then we do this, and we hold a baby. Like if you saw my 4-year-old who looks like he's 2, I still hold that little champ on this right hip. So lots of discombobulation happens when we're pregnant, and more so in pregnancy as well. So we're going to work with asymmetric movements in the pelvis today. That's kind of the focus. So what we'll do is we're going to kneel on this block, but if you need a blanket underneath it, then go ahead and do so. And this is what the movement kind of looks like. So I'm going to take one shin, and so you can see from the side that my pelvis is a bit uneven. And all I want you to do, we're going to focus, it's more glutes than it is, but it's a pelvic action. And it's just like you're going to raise the pelvis up. So it's not like really super big movements. What they are just like this. Right? Until you feel as though like your range might just be there. And see my shin kind of stays like a lever. So it's as small as a big movement, but I want you to feel like your glute is lifting up the pelvis and the pelvis stays rigid, right? We're going to try kind of 10 of these at your own time. It also forces us to use a little bit of your transversus abdominis. So these are core muscles underneath. So let's start with the right shin first, and you want to kind of bring your knee to the very edge, right? Or as much of your shin over that block that feels comfortable. And I just want you to test your balance first so you don't lift up the pelvis and fall over. So just kind of really quickly pick up the leg. Please make sure that you're even and that weight is even. Your wrists are underneath your shoulders. Spread the fingers nice and wide. Okay, it doesn't have to be a big movement. So those of you in your 3rd trimester, please be really mindful to hug onto baby, and the movements can be really small. So it kind of, with your gaze to look down, it takes a little bit of awareness. I want you just to start to lift. Good. The left side of the pelvis up. Right? And use a little bit more of the power of your glute muscle and drop the shin down. So you're going to try 10 of those. Now when you lift up, super important to hug onto baby so we can create some core movement to help support the pelvis, and then you're going to release the shin. So it's all about just trying to lift the back of the pelvis, the left side up, right? The left side, you're working one side at a time. So the right side is staying stable as you lift the left leg up. And you're working 10 of those at your own time, and try to move more of the muscle. So try to let the glute kind of take over when you lift the left side of the pelvis. Everybody feeling that movement? Okay. So really small articulations, hugging onto baby. Okay. It might not feel like it's really doing much now, but what can happen is it'll just create a little bit more balance within the pelvis. So there's less issues with the low back, there's less issues with the pelvis. These are really important movements. You can take a break in between if you want to go. It's really nice to always check out what one side feels like in between and the other. So you can take your knees apart, big toes to touch, sitting back on the heels. Good. Okay. And then I want you, whenever you've taken a few moments of rest, and compare this left hip with the right hip. You should notice maybe just a little bit more ease, maybe the availability to sit back on the heels more, and then we'll switch sides. Okay, so from the front side, and I'll be mirroring you guys, you now have your left shin on the block. You're gonna work with the right side. So really small movements. Please make sure on that lift up, prepare yourself, start kind of hugging onto baby, and it's the back of the pelvis. Okay. So flexibility, there was this myth, 10 years ago, even 15 years ago in prenatal yoga that you needed a lot of flexibility to deliver your baby. Well, the beauty of the anatomical changes that happen in pregnancy is that you have a hormone that's already releasing and stretching the connective tissue. So what we're finding in labor and delivery is that women need more strength in order to endure because labor and delivery is all about endurance. Right? And now what we're trying to find in postpartum, I teach a lot of moms after, and I'm trying to correct these formalities or misfunctions of the pelvis now after baby. So these are really great postpartum movements as well, but really nice in pregnancy, as long as you don't feel any pain or strain. When you've completed 10 on this right side, again, just remove the block, okay? Sit back on the heels, draw the knees wide, take a moment of rest. So we're looking for glute function, number 1, and then it's just the pelvis that lifts up, right? We're working one side at a time. Good. So taking a rest for a moment with your knees wide, big toes touch, sitting back on the heels. Arms can be forward. So here we're just evaluating to make sure now that there is in fact a balance on both sides. Good. Taking a full breath in, and then we'll exhale. Good. Slide hands underneath the shoulders, and we'll press forward onto all fours. All right. Spread your fingers nice and wide. Just remove any props from off your mats. We'll curl the toes under, and once again, lifting the hips high. Take a nice deep bend into one knee, just starting to work and press through its opposite hip movement. Perfect. All right. With an exhalation, let's bend into the knees, coming back down onto all fours. So we will be moving into some lunge positions, but they'll be modified for pregnancy. So here's a few things that you might want to consider, is that we have to use the movement of our body to kind of step our foot forward. So just getting used to kind of rocking. I want you to take really small movements first of just kind of rocking your shoulders forward and your hips back. These are really intrinsic movements that happen when women labor anyway. Okay. And then when your shoulders go over top of your wrist, step your left foot outside of your hand. Okay, so step your left foot to the outside of your left hand. Good. We'll go left. I'm messing it up. Good. So you can take your left foot over a little bit more. You can widen. You can draw your foot out. Whatever feels available in your hips is fine. You make these movements your own. Okay. Press into the tips of the fingers just for a moment. Roll the shoulders back. Starting to feel that a little bit. And then an equally important cue I use in this class is hug baby from below. So that's going to help put not a lot of pressure on your pelvic floor as we pause here. So deep breath in, you're just lifting the chest, roll the shoulders back. So we're focusing on your left hamstrings and also your right hip flexors. But I want you to curl your right toes under. Okay, so this is giving us the ability to stretch the hips, right, and all the muscles around the hips and pelvis, which are awesome. But now I want you to feel the sensation of squeezing the legs to the midline of the body. So imagine moving the legs inwards, right, the muscles of the legs inwards. Take your left hand to your left thigh. Okay, hug baby from below. We're going to lift up into kind of like a runner's lunge. Now you can modify here. If you need a blanket underneath your right knee and you don't have one, again, just raise your hands if you need one. You can also take the block underneath the knee. I want to see left shin vertical, so the knee over the ankle. But if it feels like it's too much, back it up. Okay, if you do want a little bit more stretch, I'm okay with it. You can come forward, but please make sure that you're still in that 70% range of motion. It's a big one. And then raise the arms up, relax the shoulders. Good. So here, take a deep breath in. Maybe as you exhale, the hips can come forward, which is fine, deeper stretch. But I want you to focus on stability. So I want you to draw the legs to the midline of the body. These adductors, which are now called your pushing muscles, those are what's squeezing towards the midline of the body. Make it really strong so you start to feel the hip flexors just a little bit deeper. We inhale, reach through the side of the body. As you exhale, soften the shoulders. Good. And then take your hands in front of the left leg again. If it isn't already, move it over. We have to kind of come out the same way. So rock your hips back, let your heel sort of stay down and the toes point up. And then when you feel ready, we kind of step the left knee to meet the right. Okay. Curl the toes under. Just want you to get off your feet. Spread the fingers nice and wide. These are always optional if you feel like you just, especially moms in the third trimester, not feeling very energized today. You can stay with your knees wide and your big toes to touch. Good. Exhale, we'll bend into the knees, coming back down onto all fours. Take your knees wide, big toes to touch. And here's what we'll do with our arms. If you stretch your arms forward, I want you to walk your hands as far over to the right side, resting the forehead to the floor. If the forehead doesn't rest, I'm showing you a modification where you create a bridge with your right forearm so the forehead can rest on something. So you're taking a deep breath in through the left side of the ribs. As you exhale, just relax your left shoulder and try to draw that left sit bone towards the heel. So almost as if like there's a magnet there and you're kind of moving the sit bone to the heel for that connection. We usually create a deep stretch anywhere along the left side. Good. Inhale, we'll look at the hands. You can walk your hands now over to the left side. Good. Forehead to the floor. Here's the bridge if you need it. So I'm creating it now with the left forearm so the forehead can rest. We're reaching the right fingertips forward, just taking a deep breath in through the right side. As you exhale, try to relax the top of the right shoulder and the right sit bone draws back. Good. If you feel like there's a lot of pressure through the pelvic floor, you can still continue to create that cue of feeling like you're lifting baby from below. And then next inhalation, gazing at your hands. We'll walk the hands into the center and then slide the hands underneath the shoulders. All right. We have to do that on the right side. So on hands and knees, I'm going to shift that weight. So getting used to kind of rocking back and forth. And then when you feel ready and your shoulders move over your wrists, step your right foot outside of your hands. Okay. So that movement can be as small or as large as you choose. Stay within that pain-free range of motion. Good. Okay. Everyone's okay here. Curl the left toes under. So if you need the block or the blanket underneath your left knee, then please place it there. Good. Press up onto the tips of the fingers. So roll the shoulders back. You can move the right leg out a little bit if you need so the toes can draw out. Good. Lifting through the chest, we're just receiving this stretch, so there's still that balance. This is more about the stretch, moving the hip and pelvis forward. So if you're deep in, it's the right sit bone that draws to the heel of the right foot. Good. Let's take right hand to the right thigh, and then lifting baby from below will come into a bit of a runner's lunge. So if you want to decrease it, back the right foot up a little bit. You don't have to go too far in this position. Okay. Otherwise, maybe the hip is moving forward. You raise the arms up and overhead, soften through the tops of the shoulders. Good. So here, I want strength in the legs, right? Feel like you're moving the inside of your thighs towards the midline of the body. Everything should kind of lift and pull up. Good. So this is creating some stability through the pelvis, even though those muscles are sort of already stretching. So I want you to just stay with the focus at this moment of that stability. Good. Taking a full inhalation, reach the ribs away from the hips, and then as you exhale, bring your hands forward. So both hands are inside, so the right leg's still out, just way easier to get in and out. Move the hips back a couple times, so let the toes draw up as you kind of anchor through the heel, and then step your right knee to meet the left. Perfect. Once again, we'll be coming into standing position, so lift the hips high into downward facing dog, taking movements here if you need, gazing towards the hands if you feel lightheaded. Okay. Another challenging position is to move your shoulders over your wrists and start to step your feet outside of your hands. It can be a really small movement. Here's what you need to do is drop the pelvis down, but I want you to keep your gaze to look forward, mostly for blood. Okay, take your hands or your elbows on your thighs first. Keep the gaze to look forward. Okay, lifting baby from below, we're going to push down through the feet and just slowly begin to. So let the strength of your legs lift you up. Good. Versus your back. All right. Let's get into a partner squat. How's that? Partner squats are amazing. Try to teach them in a class. So here's what I'll use Caitlin. You can be my muse today. Hello. I like these new pants at Lululemon because they're really big and they like cover all your like mum stuff. And brings it in. It's like Spanx. Okay. Except now I'm always like, I gotta pull my pants up. I gotta pull my pants up. feel like my dad. My dad wears his pants that high. Okay. So cute. He's 70. He's adorable. So this is the thing about squats. And squats are really important for the pelvis and the hips. So Caitlin's going to support me for a minute. She's going to bring her dominant leg forward. She's going to lean back as I lean back. So this is usually what we do, and it strains the knees quite a bit. So what you want to do in a birthing squat is to move your sit bones back. Got to trust your partner, right? I call it like the campfire pee, so I don't pee on my heels. And then I drop the hips down. So you can see the difference, my knees over my ankles. And it's a really wonderful stretch in this position. So we talked about this in the hip class too, and why it's important. In labor and delivery, even though it feels like, or it looks maybe like I'm compressing, what's happening and why it's the optimal birthing position is because your pelvic crest, this is the iliac crest, squeezes together in that position, and it widens the sit bones so that there's more room for baby to come out in that position. So that's why it's the optimal kind of birthing position. So if you don't know someone in the room, some of you, I think most of you know each other, but if not, you can say hello and just introduce yourself, and then I'm going to walk around and instruct you guys through it. Is that all right? You get a good stretch. Okay. Malar, I know, it's a beautiful name. So here's what I want you to do, okay? Whoever is going to be holding your partner first, you need to bring your dominant leg forward. Good. You have to bend your knee so it's not in your back, and you will have to lean back. The weight is kind of both. So you lean back as they lean back. Trust your partner. Okay. I've never had a mom drop another mom in this class. I have a huge success rate. Okay. And then just lower the bum down. You got it. Relax your shoulders. There you go. And this is the optimal birthing squat. We're just looking at knees over ankles, right? Shins are vertical. Allow your head to release a little bit. It's a beautiful stretch up the spine. Perfect. It's always the person who's holding you that's doing the work. When you feel ready, you can push down to the feet. Your partner will kind of help lift you up as well. And I want you to do this twice each, okay? Good. Now, if you are in your third trimester, moms, like pretty close to your due date, I want you to always think about lifting baby from below. So there still needs to be a pelvic action so that we're not bearing down and pushing all this weight through the pelvic floor muscles. Perfect. Okay. Good. So lean back as they lean back. Those of you supporting the mom shouldn't feel this in your own back, right? It's okay, my thing slipped down my pants there. You what? For how long? Oh no. What? So, which, like the first bit of class? Uh-oh. So which part? When did we start coming in? That's okay. Well, which part do you remember where you hit record? Like, what was I doing on here? Okay. It's okay. It's all good. Okay. I'll have to record that over. Yeah. It's all good. Keep doing it. Yeah. It's okay. I'll still have to record it. Yeah. Still important stuff. Okay. Good, good. When you're done that, you can come back to your mat. At any point in time, please, ladies, feel free to take a drink of water or anything like that. Good. So we'll work with just a few standing poses while we're up here, which is really nice. I'm going to get you to face towards the windows. You'll still be able to see me in this direction. I'm just going to stay on the mat to demonstrate. But you'll take your feet anywhere from 4 to 5 feet apart. You'll pivot your right foot to a 90-degree angle and the back foot in. So right foot to a 90, so point your right foot towards me. And then you're going to draw the back foot on a slight angle. So it's like a 45, okay? Perfect. So this, making sure that what you're looking at is that your right knee aligns with your toes. So you might even have to bring the left leg in a little bit more if you're really rigid in your hips. But the most important thing is that your right knee aligns with your toes. Good. Raising the arms up. So this is triangle. You're going to push into the back foot. Try to stretch as far beyond the right foot as you can. Move the left hip out. Good. And then we draw right hand to the shin and raise the left arm straight up. Good. So in this position, just lean the shoulders back and the hip and pelvis forward. If you're in your third trimester, moms, maybe take a slight bend into the right knee, so we call it a micro bend. Otherwise, all the weight through the back leg. And then you're breathing up that lateral left side. Good. Hugging onto baby if you feel like there's a lot of pressure through the back. On the next inhalation, look down or towards your right foot. Lead with the right hand, press into the back foot, maybe bend into the knee. We hinge from the hips, hands at the waist, and then you'll just pivot to the left side. So left foot to a 90-degree angle, back foot in. Inhale, raise the arms up and overhead. Good. As you exhale, we hinge from the hips. So reaching the left fingertips beyond. Good. So both legs ideally are straight, but as I mentioned, maybe a slight bend into the knee. Good. Reaching up through the tips of the fingers, draw the shoulders back. Perfect. And your left hand that's resting on the shin is just that. It's resting. So don't kind of force and apply a lot of pressure. Full breaths in through the right side. Pressing into the back foot. Good. Maybe your gaze is neutral, or you can look towards your right hand for a bit more movement. Press into the back foot, gazing beyond your left foot, reach your left hand forward. We hinge from the hips. Good. Once again, hands at the waist and pivot over to the right side. So we'll do this one more time. We're just going to change the direction of the arms. So raising the arms up and overhead. Good. Move the left hip out. So try to reach beyond the right armpit so we're not collapsing along the right side. Hand falls to the shin. And then again, we raise the left arm straight up. Shoulders draw back, hip and pelvis forward, thighs nice and strong. So just very gently leaning back. And here, I want you to take the left arm overhead, palm of the hand faces down. So just try to stretch your left arm now beyond the crown of the head. Perfect. Reaching through the tips of the fingers, pressing into the back foot. You got it. Hugging onto baby if you feel like there's a lot of pressure in this position. So what you're trying to do is reach the left fingertips beyond the crown and then the left hip away. Slightly bend into the right knee, press into the back foot. Lead with the right hand, we hinge from the hips, and then we'll pivot over to the left side. Perfect. So left foot to a 90, back foot in. Inhale, raising the arms up and overhead. Same leg position. Draw the right hip out as you extend forward. Hand falls to the shin, and we raise the right arm straight up. So just checking in here, maybe your left shoulder forward, right shoulder back. And now we take the right arm overhead, palm of the hand faces down. So you're trying to reach the tips of the fingers beyond the crown of the head, hugging onto baby, maybe a soft bend into the front knee, but you're rooting through the back foot. Go ahead. Don't hold this one too long. So on the next inhalation, press into the back foot, hinging from the hips, leading your left arm forward. Wonderful. Take the hands at the waist, toes point forward, and just kind of heel toe your feet towards each other. Good. Taking a nice little bend into the knees and then lift onto the toes. So you'll turn to face towards me. And again, I want you to grab onto your block. What I always tell moms is maybe you just want to kick it, because who wants to bend down when they're pregnant? Right? You can't pick these up with your toes. Have you mastered the toe pickup yet? Right? Picking up things with your, isn't it impressive what you can pick up with your toe? I still do it. I like tea towels. I'm like around here. Yeah. Okay. So really similar action we did earlier. This one's standing. So we're going to stand on the block and work with this hip movement, this asymmetric hip movement. So you'll just stand with your left on the block first. These ones at least are foamy. And just come up onto the right toes first. So I want you to balance and make sure, again, that you're not on the edge where it's you don't want to fall off. Good. And then just flex your right foot and lift the foot off the floor. Perfect. So in this position, what you're going to do, and you can take your hands sort of high on the iliac crest, and I want you just to move your right hip down, but what's happening is all your left leg's going to do the work, right? So the left leg, this glute, is actively moving the right glute and hip. Because the foamy, I'm used to wood blocks, but the foam ones are a little bit more challenging. So what I want you to do is it's all focusing. You're lifting the right hip as high as you can, but what's giving you the ability to do that is the strength of your left glute, okay? And your hands are there as a nice little guide. Okay, so we're drawing the right hip down and then pushing into the left foot. You're trying to lift the right leg up. I want you to try at least 10 of those. Good. And if you need the right foot to the floor, of course, for more balance. Good. So really, you have to kind of think. I see everyone's mind very focused on lifting. Let the left glute kind of take over and move these movements within the pelvis, okay? Stay out of range where you feel compression in your left hip. They're really subtle movements, but we're just trying to create a balance, right? So don't drop down too far where you feel a pinching in the left hip or the left side of your back. Good. When you've completed 10, you'll just move the block over to the left. We'll ground down through the right foot. Okay, please find, before you pick up your left completely, please make sure that just a little bit, do that tester so that you don't go to one side and fall off. Just flex the foot first. This, in its sense, is a really nice position too to try to create the balance in the hips and just allowing the heaviness. So small movements, you're going to lower the left leg. Okay, actively think about the right glute. And then with the right glute, you're going to try to lift the left leg up. Okay? Good. It's a pretty big movement. Keeping the hands at the waist so you can start to sort of see. We're not really trying to jar the left hip up really high. We're just trying to actively engage more so through the muscle of the right glute. Okay, pretty nice position for the hips. So it's a nice way to kind of start to release a little bit of a low back tension, but also start to focus on the strength. So you should feel it burning more through the right leg. Do you feel that? Through the right glute a bit more, which is when we know it works. Awesome. And then you can release the left foot to the floor. Good. Just kick the block aside. I'm not even pregnant, but when I teach them, I have like sympathy pregnant. You know, I've been there 3 times. I know what it's like. Lastly, while we're at the wall, can I borrow you again, Caitlin? Last for the back here, you're going to go 90 degrees. Yeah. Are you not reading my mind?
No. Tell me more.
Okay, so she's going to lean forward at 90 degrees. So bloop, there we go. With your wrists in line with your shoulders, so back yourself up a little bit. Perfect. So she's going to try to resist me in this position. She's going to push her hands into the wall. I'm going to take my index finger, middle finger, and I kind of draw her back, right? So what this does, it's usually more like this. I'm going to bend my knees. She's going to push into the wall, and I'm going to pull her hips back. So it's either going to target right here in your mid-spine or it shoots down your legs. But we have to make sure, you see how she's collapsing a little bit in her back? So I want you, yeah, does everybody see that? So go, she's a yoga instructor, so I can do this to her. So she's going to lift up there. So I want you to feel like you're hugging onto baby in this position. Good. And I also know her, so I can touch her that way too. Bend your knees, looking at your hands, and then just kind of walk your hands up the wall. So all you're going to do is with your dominant leg forward, I want you to, it's a beautiful position. I just want you to kind of pull your partner back. Okay, you don't have to bring the fingers here. You can just kind of move their hips back. But you're resisting by pushing your hands really strong into the wall. And it's a glorious pose. And then please make sure, moms, again, that when you come out, it's kind of like this, especially if you deal with blood pressure, right, in the head gazing down. Try that. Okay, twice each, same partner. I'll walk you through it again. I like partner poses in class because then you get to meet other new moms, which is nice. So one of you is folding forward from the hips. Good. Keeping the knees slightly bent, thighs are nice and strong. So I want you to gently to pull back. So those of you receiving the stretch, push your hands into the wall, try to resist them. Good. Don't let your head drop. So keep your neck neutral with the spine. Good. Your knees may be slightly bent, quads are strong. If you feel like they're pulling you away and your feet and toes lift up, just move your feet back a little bit further. When you're ready to come out, look at your hands, take your time, bend the knees, and walk or crawl your hands up the wall, and then we'll switch partners. So either backs of the legs or low back. It actually kind of gets more of that mid-spine. Yeah, if you feel like your feet are lifting up, you can move them back a little bit more. It's okay. 13 minutes. Do you think, did we get the block one on the knees? Yeah.
So a lot of it I was thinking about, I was like, well, I don't know if I'm going to switch things over. And like where you cut, I was like,
Well, that's why if I know what pose you end, like you hit play with, then I'll know.
I don't know just by sitting here. Should have paid attention.
No, it's okay. I thought we usually double check.
No, I know I usually check, but I always look for this little thing and I gotta get used to the arms.
No problem. Right. Okay. When you're done, ladies, you can actually just throw the block and maybe even a bolster on your mat, and then you're going to find a spot in the wall, along the wall. So take with you, I just like to do this because then you can, this is the cheating way of doing it, but then I just don't want moms to always, especially when you get into your 3rd trimester, you're like, bleh. But then you'll just, it's just the easiest way. We'll just put you over, I'll put you over here. Do you want to bask in the sun? I can move that too, but. And then I can have you, if you want to come right here. Yeah. Yeah, so what you'll do is you'll sit, and I need a muse over here. Who's going to be that today for me? Thank you. Okay. You'll take your mat. Yeah, we're going to go the shorter way here. I'll get this. Got it? There we go. Teamwork, teamwork. Perfect. Okay. If this, you'll be away from it, but if it does bother you for whatever reason, just let me. Okay. Great. So I want you guys against the wall. You're in the trees there. You're okay there? It is. So sitting right against the wall, awesome. Just making sure that you have that blue block handy with you at some point. We'll be using it in just a moment, so it's in reach, or it's reachable. And then I want you to bring the pads of your feet together. So this is our bound angle stretch. Good. In this position. So pads of the feet together. You'll draw your heels as close towards the groin with your knees bent that you feel the most comfortable for you. So we're going to work a few different rounds here. Some with the breath, some with some pelvic floor movements. Good. You can rest your arms on your legs if you choose. Palms of the hands can face up and down. So whatever's going to feel as though you can get the most sensation of relaxation. So palms up or down. Good. Maybe for some you can rest your head right against the wall. Others, it might be just chin parallel, and then I want you to close your eyes. So deep inhalation, I want you to draw the breath towards your chest and heart again. Nice big exhale. Good. So another full breath in. On this exhalation, again, try to relax the very tops of the shoulders. So just as we did the very beginning of the practice. Good. Next, inhalation, lifting through the crown of the head. And now as you exhale, try to relax your low back. So try to feel the lower back begin to sink towards the wall. Try to give up that need at this point to hold on to your back. With the eyes closed, create some awareness into the pelvis. So just noticing the sit bones, the bones in which you sit on, the heaviness of the pelvis, and begin to release the heaviness of the pelvis, which will in turn allow your knees to also draw towards the floor. So again, try to give up that contracting and that hold in and along the pelvis. With the eyes closed, we'll come back to that equal breathing that we did at the beginning of class also. So in the next inhalation, you'll inhale to your breath count of 2, 3, 4, 5, or 6, and you'll exhale to the same numbered count. So we feel the inhalations lift and length up the front line of the body, sitting up nice and tall. And as you exhale, let go shoulders, spine, hips, and thighs. Be so focused on that inhalation that you're creating awareness anywhere in your body where you feel sensation, where you start to feel reactions. And then use the exhalation, that very powerful breath, to breathe them out. I often say breathe to and through. So breathe to the posture or the movement, the muscle, and breathe through. So it's almost as if the breath begins to move in a circular motion. We inhale the breath up the front line of the body slowly. Exhale, soften and soothe down the back line of the body. Good. Noticing any physical reactions. So if you're starting to feel like something's moving, noticing what happens on the reaction, how you react to that change, that fluctuation. Good. So this is a point of surrender. We need this in our movement towards labor and delivery, knowing that we cannot control the outcome of your birth. This is your first birth. That we have to sit in this sort of stillness and patience in order to allow the process to unfold on its own. So just allowing on this next exhalation your breath to return back to its natural spontaneous movement, taking a full breath in, nice big exhale audibly. Good. So bring your gaze to look forward and open. Take your hands underneath your knees. We'll just draw the knees towards each other. Stretch the legs forward, giving your legs a little bit of a shake here. Perfect. So because we're in an upright position against the wall, it oftentimes can aggravate the mid-back. So bring the pads of the feet back together, but more of that diamond shape pattern. Hug around your ankles. Just kind of gently tip the pelvis forward. Reach for the toes. Let your shoulders roll forward. So whichever position, we did this one also at the beginning of the class, that you feel is the most accessible for you. The shoulders can roll towards the ears. Okay, so here we're just letting the shoulders draw to the ears. This is an entire back stretch. You're focusing here lumbar, thoracic, and then the cervical or cervical, so the back of the neck. Again, moms in the third trimester, you might not be able to go as far, so it's okay if the shoulders slightly roll forward. Good. And I want you to breathe in towards the aspects of your back where you feel any tenderness, any sensation. On the next inhalation, taking your time, bring the hands back to touch the toes, slide the hands up the shins so we round up vertebrae by vertebrae. Last thing to come up is the head as you roll the shoulders back to look forward. Good. Shake the legs in front again. So here's your next position with the block. We have 3 ways. So this way is small, this way is medium, and then this way is large. So it looks small, medium, large. So this one is a hip stretch. So it depends on which movement you want, okay? So you decide if you're feeling like you're, a little bit more unstable today, maybe go small. If you feel like you're quite rigid and tight in your hips and you would like to receive a bit more of a stretch, you can go medium or large. And know at any time too, you can move it to its lesser. Sitting upright against the wall. If you need to move your back forward or your pelvis forward a little bit, you can. So if you need to make an adjustment, but otherwise we're using the wall for support. Palms of the hands will draw onto the knees as they once were. Hands can be up or down, your choice on where you feel the most comfortable with your shoulders, and then we'll close the eyes. So the head can also rest against the wall. Taking a deep inhalation, sitting up nice and tall again, lift through the chest and heart. As you exhale, soften the shoulders. Good. So we always check in physically first. Deep breath in, lifting towards the chest and heart. Now as you exhale, try to let go of your low back. So just start to feel the connection of the low back behind you. It's a beautiful metaphor of always just feeling supported behind you, but also below. Another deep breath in this time and letting go of any sensations, any tightening, any reactions in the pelvis. So the pelvis begins to soften, the weights of the knees begin to release towards the floor. Good. So once the physical body becomes rested, that's when we bring our attention inwards towards our breath. So just continue for a few moments working on that equal breath. 2, 3, 4, 5, or 6. So it's the optimal breathing position because it calms the nervous system. So the inhalations, the same length and depth as the exhalations. The breath should never feel forced, stuck, or tense. And then in your mind's eye, right between the eyebrow center, start to imagine what the pelvic floor muscles look like. So they're like hammock-shaped muscles. There's 8 of them, if you believe it. They're attachment points in the sit bones, the pubic bone, and the tailbone. And these hammock-shaped muscles are holding on to your pelvic organs. We need them actively in prenatal, and then of course we need to focus on them in postpartum. So in that diamond-shaped pattern that you're sitting on or currently sitting on right now, on the inhalation, I want you to lift those muscles up towards your lower abdomen or belly, and on the exhalation, I want you to relax them. And then I want you to reverse that, closing the eyes. On the exhalation, try to lift and contract the pelvic floor muscles, and on the inhalation, try to release them. And find out which is the easiest for you. So take these right underneath here. That should give you a little bit more support. Yeah. So depending on whether that inhale or exhale was the easiest for you, I want you to continue with 4 more of those breaths. So either on the inhale or exhale, I want you to contract your pelvic floor muscles. It's like an elevator, lifting them up towards the lower belly. See if you can hold that contraction for a few breaths. Not the breath, just the contraction. And then on the opposite, let it go. I want you to try to take a normal resting breath in between. So we contract the pelvic floor muscles, but we also need to relax them for however long we held that contraction for. So there's always a balance. If you're starting to feel, however, as though maybe your back is becoming or the back of the neck is a little rigid or tight, you can let your chin fall towards the chest. Keeping the eyes closed, the body still. Whenever you've completed all 4, and just so I'm aware, you can bring your gaze to look back into the room. And when you have completed, no rush for those of you still working through, but just remove the block, bring the pads of the feet back together, letting your knees kind of unfold. Awesome. Hands underneath the thighs, we'll stretch the legs in front, and then we'll give the legs a bit of a shake. Okay. One more of those movements here, so pads of the feet together. I just want you to lean a little bit forward. The more you let your shoulders roll towards the ears, the deeper the stretch. You can wrap the arms underneath if you need. Good. So full breath in towards the spine. As you exhale, soften through the tops of the shoulders. Moms, again, in the 3rd trimester, back it up a little bit if it feels like it's way too much or you are unable to breathe, even though we're directing the breath in towards the back. Okay. We'll take the time to come out, please. So as you inhale, sliding the hands up the shins, maybe hugging onto baby or lifting from below if you feel a lot of pressure, rounding up vertebrae by vertebrae. Last thing to come up is the head. Legs can come forward, give them a nice big shake. And then here's part 3. It's the last one. You'll bring your legs about, or the block rather, about maybe a foot in front or a handprint in front of the groin. And then you'll elevate your feet one at a time onto the block. Okay. So pads of the feet are together. We want the block lengthwise. You decide how much. If you want a deeper stretch, the block can come in towards the groin. If you want less of a stretch, the block can come slightly forward. Good. So sitting up nice and tall with the head and shoulders drawn back. Trying to keep the pads of the feet connected. Really important to not let the palms of the feet roll up. So keep the mounds of the big toe together, the pinky toe, the edge of the inner and outer heel. Roll the shoulders back, sitting up nice and tall. Good. Closing the eyes. So with a deep breath in, lifting through the chest and heart, just taking a scan of your body from the crown of the head. Upon those exhalations, letting go of any unwanted tension through the shoulders, the spine, and the pelvis. Those are the 3 most significant points of our body where we hold the stress and tension. Begin to feel heavy as the breath and the exhalation draws the sit bones and pelvis down. Good. We'll come back to that equal breathing once again, so on the inhalation. And if you're continuously working with these classes, you'll find that the breath will expand a little bit more. So maybe your count is 6, 7, or 8, as long as the breath count never feels forced or stuck. So we inhale, we feel the breath rise and lift up the front line of the body. It's expansion. And on the exhalation, continue to let go shoulders, spine, hips, and thighs. But not only that, and just as important, fears, expectations, and limitations. So all the fears, all the expectations, the limitations that you put on yourself towards the labor and delivery process. Reminding yourself that this is a natural movement and migration and journey into motherhood that we cannot control or force. We won't hold this one as long, but we'll take a deep breath in all together. Nice big audible exhale. Good. Bringing your gaze to look forward with the help of your hands, just releasing one ankle off the block at a time, stretching the legs forward and give the legs a bit of a shake. Okay. I want you to move yourself away from the wall just ever so slightly. Come here so everyone can see me. Good. So stretching the legs in front, we'll just do a little bit of a twist here. So what you'll do is you'll take your right leg out to the side like such. I'm not mirroring you, but it's your right leg. Perfect. Your right toe. So you decide how much movement you need. If you need to move that right foot over a little bit, if you need to move the toes out, wonderful. Good. We'll bring the left hand behind the back. Your right arm's going to bend, and you really need some strength in this right leg so that the leg's not going to drop out to the side. And then as you exhale, you're just going to press your right arm against your right thigh, and we're going to very gently twist open to the left side. So a really small movement. Keep your right leg really strong, so draw the inside of that right leg to the outside of the right arm. Good. Maybe you're looking over your left shoulder, your left foot is flexed, toes point up. So it's just a variation of Marichiasana C. Good. On the exhalation, square your shoulders forward, and then we'll switch sides. So stretch the right leg. Good. We'll draw the left leg in. You decide how much movement you need in that left leg. Right hand behind the back. Okay. Making your left leg nice and strong. Flex the foot. Take a deep inhalation, sitting up nice and tall. And then as you exhale, we gently begin to rotate out to the right. Taking a moment to soften through those shoulders. Please make sure there's no compression in the belly. Good. Okay. Flexion through the right foot so the right toes are pointing up. Taking a full breath in. And then as you exhale, you can unwind and square your shoulders forward. Awesome. We'll stretch the legs in front and give the legs a big shake. Okay. So I will come around if you need the rest of your props. Otherwise, you can lay down on your back and get yourselves ready for your final relaxation, which is Shavasana. Now, here's also a few things that you can do if you would like a deeper stretch, or if you're really rigid and tight in your shoulders. We've been working with this. It's a variation of what we just did. So it's a hip movement, but it can be really nice on your shoulders. So instead of laying flat, if you would rather do this pose, which is called Supta Baddha Konasana, which is reclining bound angle, you can do this. And if you need these props, you can just raise your hands. You don't have to really go anywhere. Yeah? Just one more. Okay. Okay. Otherwise, you can lay down on your left side if you choose, with the block in between the knees. Okay. This is going to go underneath your knees, so then it's a bit more supported. You do the same position. Okay. There we go. Yeah, you're going to nudge yourself right back. Yeah, there you go. So lovely, lovely. Okay. Well, that actually works too, but I'm just going to, 1 second. There you go. Just don't want it to fall. Okay. You're going to lay back. And then, yeah, we're going to give you this under your knees. So then that's going to support your knees and your pelvis. Yeah, there you go. Awesome. And you can relax your arms like this, so then it works on your shoulders. Okay. Wonderful. Everyone okay there? You're okay there? Okay. So with the eyes closed, taking a moment here, we have a deep breath in towards your own chest and heart. Nice big audible exhale. So one more as such, taking a deep breath in to lift and expand, and then nice big audible exhale to release. Good. So we quiet the space between the eyebrow center, your lips are together, separate the teeth, letting the tongue slowly fall to the bottom of the mouth. Softening through the tops of the shoulders. Next inhalation, taking a deep breath in towards the belly. And then as you exhale, letting the weight of the belly begin to soften towards the low spine. So actively surrendering into the bolster again with the heaviness through the spine, the pelvis, weight to the knees. And then if you are on the bolster in this Supta Baddha Konasana, take a deep inhalation, just breathing into the sides of the body, so expanding into those intercostal muscles, and using the exhalation to release. Shoulders, spine, hips, and thighs. If you're on your side and you have a free hand, also placing that hand on baby, and using this time and this opportunity for all moms in the room to focus on talking to your baby, visualizing your baby, creating warm, positive affirmations towards your baby. Keeping the eyes closed. Bring your awareness back into the room by wiggling into your fingers, gently wiggling into the toes. We'll take a deep connected breath towards heart as you exhale, sending all that love and energy down to baby. Good. So if you're on the bolster, just bring your knees towards each other and kind of kick or at least roll the bolster forward with your toes, the one that you have underneath your knees. And then keep the knees bent with the pads of the feet to the floor for a minute. Good. With maybe your knees together and your feet hip width apart. So that's also nice for the back of the sacrum. If you're on your back, just removing the block from in between the knees, stretching your legs and arms forward. Good. If you're on the bolster, then just starting to rock your knees to the left side and then to the right. So we create some movement through the lower spine. Awesome. Okay. With that, move when your legs drop over to the left side, you just kind of have to roll yourself. You can either sit up immediately, or if you feel like you need to just lay on your left side for a moment, please go ahead and do so. Your choice. Whatever it doesn't give you the biggest stress or strain. And then we'll all sit comfortably cross-legged, just facing into the center of the room. Fine, we always close the class with the chant of Om. So you can sit up nice and tall with the shoulders rolling back. We'll bring the palms of the hands together, thumbs connected, heart center. So we'll take a deep breath in all together, nice big audible exhale, and we'll inhale followed by an Om. Deep breath in. Just gently bow the head, always saluting the light within, and we offer either a namaste or have a nice day. So namaste, ladies.